MD number 45, whose is the Black-Haired Dhammakaya Image? Why isn't it from 01, Fra Dhammakaya? What will happen if we worship it? Lack of true knowledge is the greatest misfortune for humanity, especially for the merit-making disciples of the former Fra Dhammakaya 01, who did not attentively listen to the Dharma when 01 was the great teacher, and who did not pay attention to teachings from their spiritual friends, even though 01 constantly taught that spiritual friends are everything in the spiritual life. Friends in the merit-making circle saw news images of the ceremony of enshrining relics in the head of the new main Buddha statue at the Amnat Jaron Center on Sunday, February 22, 2026. They saw the main Buddha statue being carried, and those carrying it were holding an image of the Black-Haired Dhammakaya. However, the actual Buddha statue being carried depicted the physical form of the Buddha, representing the gross physical body of the great man, not the subtle Dhammakaya within every human being. Therefore, there is no criticism regarding the statue itself. However, referring to the main Buddha statue as a Dhammakaya would be considered a serious misinformation, and there is an immediate danger to the merit of everyone who participates in that ceremony, turning white into black 100%. Look at the intention behind creating the main Buddha image. While the main Buddha image is supposed to represent the body of a great man, the sponsors were given a picture to hold up as a shield, a picture of the Dhammakaya with black hair, labeled Dhammakaya. This is a direct miscommunication. It causes complete misunderstanding about the Dhammakaya, the true subtle aspect that should be respected and seen in every human being, which is not the form shown in the picture. It's a misrepresentation and leads to misinterpretation, showing that both the doer and the recipient are unaware of the truth. They are deceiving each other and being deceived, but the benefit goes to the forces of Mara, the enemy of all humanity. It's unfortunate that the real 01 had Kyongtawan explain this in detail since mid-2023, before the casting of the black-haired Buddha image in May 2023, but no one paid attention. Now, the temple is relying on the ignorance of both the monks and the lay people. There's no way to know the truth unless you have accessed the Dhammakaya within yourself, unless you have ever seen the Buddha within yourself. And if you don't listen to the Dharma from 01, you will know even less. What has been created like this definitely did not come from the true 01. The main Buddha image of Fra Dhammakaya with black hair is certainly not from the true 01, because it has become the creation of a Buddha image for the side of Mara. It is tantamount to raising Mara, the enemy of humanity, to be worshipped. This means that everyone who worships it is turning to worshipping evil and the consequences of sin instead. What they will receive is sin and evil karma that influences them, attracting the karmic consequences of past sins from any lifetime, instead of attracting happiness and prosperity from the positive karma that was received when worshipping the main Buddha image of Fra Dhammakaya created by the true 01. Everything has changed. Fra Dhammakaya is a subtle aspect residing in the center of every human being. One must practice meditation by stilling the mind at the center of the body, the seventh chakra. When done correctly, the Buddha image will be seen within oneself. The true Buddha image within a human being will be a clear blue, a bright white, or a bright gold color throughout. This is called the side of the Buddha, the side of merit, or the side of white karma. When one reaches it, one will receive only happiness and prosperity. One will have happiness and fulfillment in all things, according to one's desires. If one can attain the level of being a Dhammakaya practitioner 24 hours a day, they are called a Kotfu person, meaning one who is a Dhammakaya practitioner at all times. At this level, the Dhammakaya practitioner can purify and eliminate all karmic debt, evil influences, and sins within that person, resulting in only happiness and prosperity. Only in this state can one study the Dhammakaya teachings, because the Dhammakaya teachings must be learned through a Dhammakaya practitioner who is inextricably linked to the physical body of the human being, a connection that cannot be broken. Other bodies cannot learn from this. In this era, it seems that only the former Fra Dhammachayo, now a layman, is at the level of a Kotfu person. He no longer uses the name Fra Dhammachayo, but it's unconfirmed whether he has reverted to his former lay name, Chayabun Suttafal. There are also unbelievable reports that a group of people within the temple have pooled their money and signed a petition to have Fra Dhammachayo's lay name removed from the Thai civil registry. The reasons for this are unknown. And who has the right to remove another person's name from the civil registry? How is that possible, unless that person no longer exists in Thailand or the world? And doing so would mean there would no longer be a Thai citizen in the civil registry named Chayabun Suttafal. If that's the case, who is paying for it? The term fundraising must refer to an action by a group of people who have no legal right to change, add, or remove anyone's name, except perhaps a parent. In the case of former Fra Dhammachayo, it is known that both his father and mother have passed away. However, someone cannot normally exercise the right to remove someone else's name. Therefore, the term fundraising suggests a group with malicious intent towards former Fra Dhammachayo. And the total amount of money must be a large sum to pay those involved in civil registration to commit fraudulent procedures, bypass rights, or use power to alter the civil registry according to the orders of someone who funded to pay them to commit this illegal act. Isn't that right? The question is, what is the purpose? A friend gave me this perspective. If we consider only the perspective of someone who harbors deep hatred for O1, and who is a member of the purple-clad, high-ranking group who was disappointed by O1's refusal to share the donation money during negotiations, leading to O1's refusal to give any, resulting in such intense hatred, to the point of not wanting this man's name, even as a layperson, to be registered in Thailand. Is it even possible to go to such extremes? I see no reason for anyone else to do this out of love. How could someone love someone so much that they don't want their name on any household registration in Thailand? Is that what you call love? Even if we don't follow their orders, we, who possess great merit, will retain our merit and will not be drawn to danger by their actions. If one firmly believes in this principle, the monks in the temple can live without fear of being poisoned to death. And they don't have to leave the temple even if they don't follow orders from anyone, unless it's ordered by O1 or claimed to be ordered by O1. Every monk and novice who is the true disciple of O1 knows their father well and understands his teachings and the correct path. If someone claims to have ordered something that isn't the father's teaching, then they are not the father. They possess wisdom and will adhere only to the true teachings of their father, refusing to follow any orders outside of them. And if it's claimed that O1 accepted the agreement, if any monk isn't firm in their understanding of merit and demerit as they've learned, it's like having no firm principles to uphold and not daring to refuse any deviation that comes their way. The monks at the next level simply followed whatever O1 said, creating a blind spot for the entire organization at the junction between O1 and the monks of the temple from O2 downwards. When O2 invited O6 to step in and take over the role of head monk at the 3 ashram meeting, the large meeting of all the temples in the inner district, totaling over 3,000 people, it was tantamount to giving O6 the ultimate authority in any decision-making at the temple meeting. This was a serious mistake on O2's part. It's as if O2 lacked knowledge of Dhamma and hadn't truly understood the Dhammakaya, thus failing to distinguish and recognize that O6 was an extreme heretic, capable of twisting the truth and being a wicked person not to be associated with, contrary to the 38 auspicious principles of life that O2 had preached for years. The first of which was not associating with wicked people. Yet, O2 associated with O6 and trusted and even allowed O6, who was clearly a wicked person, to be the head monk of the organization at that level. Since 2009, O6 has not yet openly displayed his wrong views, especially the embezzlement of donation money, a deliberate act of fraud from the start. O6 used the tactic of asking to borrow money to solve problems at Kau Sadet. The monks in charge of finance cannot deny that he frequently encountered requests to borrow money, with promises of repayment during Kathina or Fa-Pa ceremonies. But the result was that he never returned it for many years. This kind of behavior is what is called being a wicked person, because they habitually think evil, speak evil, and do evil. Where is the evil? Borrowing and then forgetting is theft through blatant lying and deception. This violates both the 4th and 2nd precepts of Buddhism as a habit. This means he is inherently wicked. When he decided to borrow, he knew from the beginning that he wouldn't return it. He lied about returning it during the Fa-Pa ceremony but never did. This is lying as a habit. He knew in his heart that he wouldn't repay it from the start, so it was intentional theft from the beginning. His thoughts, words, and actions fully reflect the behavior of someone who habitually thinks evil, speaks evil, and does evil, a clear and undeniable, wicked person. And O2 overlooked the true nature of O6's character, which had been like this for a long time, and allowing him to be the head monk overseeing the organization of O1 is tantamount to implicitly giving a troublemaker the leadership of the organization. When the troublemaker O6 controls the meetings, O6's thoughts, words, and actions will reflect the ideas of a troublemaker, teaching people in O1's organization the opposite of what O1 teaches. This happens frequently, and it is known that O2 has kept O6 in this position since 2009. This has resulted in the misguided views of all personnel in the inner district organizations of Wat Phra Dhammakaya and its branches worldwide for many years. 2009 was the year O1 started the free ordination project throughout Thailand, with the goal of ordaining 1 million monks someday. This became a new project of O1 that was only announced to its followers in 2009 during the Buddhist Lent. Meanwhile, whenever the inner district members attend organizational meetings, only O2 appoints O6 as the head monk, while O1 does not attend. Or when there are meetings of the temple's executive committee, O1 does not attend because O1 informs the Kindergarten of Dreams school that O1 has previously attended committee meetings. Whenever O1 proposes a new merit-making project, it is met with resistance and rejection. The meeting cites a multitude of worldly reasons to prevent O1 from proceeding with the new project. Meanwhile, O1's Dhammakaya foresees a successful plan for this undertaking, stemming from the group of his disciples building merit in the surrounding areas. Therefore, he doesn't waste time discussing it further in meetings. Instead, he decides to discuss it directly with his disciples worldwide at the Kindergarten of Dreams school. Because the enemies of humanity are time and Mara, the evil one, O1 cannot wait even a moment. Since 2009, after announcing the free ordination project throughout Thailand, it has continued in summer and rainy season sessions. In 2010, he also organized training for young female lay practitioners, Ubasika Q Noron, for 3 sessions. This became the year in which the groups who followed O1's invitations to create merit received immense merit throughout the year from inviting people to ordain and participating in ordinations. Both male and female, this immense merit created light, enabling the forces of merit led by O1 to correct Mara's plans in time that year. But sadly, all the districts believed the words of President O6, who forbade cooperation on O1's projects, which were never discussed at the temple committee meeting beforehand. O6 forbade everyone from cooperating with O1, who hadn't brought projects to the temple's administrative meeting first. In order to teach O1 a method of working that O6 believed was more correct and globally accepted. However, O6 forgot the reality that temple projects are about merit and sin. Not like a corporation where profit or loss benefits the owner. In matters of merit and sin, whoever does good deeds receives merit and benefits directly, not the initiator of the project. Therefore, worldly personnel management methods cannot be applied to temple affairs. At that time, O6 was confident that he was worldly and thought that being worldly meant being spiritually aware. Forgetting that O1 was far ahead of worldly and spiritually, with a completely different vision. However, those in the organization who didn't understand the Dharma would believe him and think that O1 was wrong to discuss projects in schools with kindergarten students worldwide before informing the committee, so they refused to cooperate and undertake any projects. What actually happens is that those who don't participate don't receive any merit. This happened when O1 announced the good news and invited others to participate. When students worldwide responded and firmly confirmed 3 times according to the principles of the O1 method, the project could be launched. And everything miraculously succeeded beyond all expectations, leaving O6 utterly humiliated. However, the wickedness of O6 stemmed from the fact that he did not have access to the Dhammakaya and lacked the Dhammakaya knowledge to perceive or inspire people. Therefore, he resorted to dark arts, namely black magic. Initially, those unaware were surprised that a monk like O6, who held a doctorate in Buddhist studies, should have valued the Dhammakaya and appreciated O1 more. Why would he choose worldly methods and black magic to counter the Dhammakaya, presenting it through O2 to deceive the organization into believing his claims that the enemy, Islam, often used powerful black magic and that the Dhammakaya method was too pure to counter such attacks? As a result, many monks were afflicted by black magic and had to seek treatment from sorcerers. Rather than seeking healing from O1 using the Dhammakaya method. So, people keep telling each other that the Dhammakaya teachings are too pure and therefore incapable of dealing with sorcery. But that's not true at all. It's just that the Dhammakaya teachings purify the entire world in one fell swoop. They're not used to cure those affected by sorcery one or two at a time. That's too intricate. Furthermore, those affected by sorcery must have past karmic debts that attract it. From the perspective of O1, it's seen as residual karma. If it can be cured, the karmic debt will be eliminated in this lifetime. It's about learning how sorcery works and what forms it takes. It's not life-threatening. People can learn it, but O1 doesn't support learning sorcery to counter the sorcery used by the Islamic side in the temple. Those attracted by karmic debts can resolve them according to their methods and overcome it. However, what O1's Dhammakaya teachings consistently do is, every first Sunday of the month, during the offering ceremony to the Buddha, all the karmic debts that are manifesting or waiting to manifest in the bodies of those intentionally participating are purified and resolved at once during that time. And in the afternoon, there's a special purification ceremony again. If each person cooperates with O1 by participating in both the morning ceremony and the afternoon meditation on the first Sunday of the month, which includes the offering of rice to the Buddha, they will have all their karmic debts purified at once without needing any special treatment. However, the monks in the temple or anyone who is deceived by O6, if he really speaks like this about sorcery and even encourages learning it by claiming that the Dhammakaya teachings are too pure and cannot handle these impure things, are being deceived by O6. He may be deceiving people by thinking he knows the truth and speaking according to his beliefs, but he is wrong and leads people astray according to his false beliefs. Associating with wicked people leads to wickedness. Looking back at the consequences in the temple, since O2 was entrusted by O1 to handle the cruder aspects of the temple's activities, and O2 then praised the wicked O6 as a leader, leading the organization down the wrong path in thought, knowledge, speech, and action, the entire organization became wrong. As a result, O1 has to rely on followers outside the temple to solicit donations through satellite TV or online channels for any charitable work. It's as if those who truly respect and love O1 are those outside the temple, extending to other countries in the world. If O1 needs to mobilize, it must rely on online media. Meanwhile, the physical bodies of those within the temple, who receive salaries from O1, have become allies of the wicked O6, who blindly obey and are deceived by O6's lies, believing that O6's advice is always claimed to be O1's orders. As a result, those within the temple are accustomed to receiving orders from the enemy, the Demon King, through O6, falsely attributed to O1, making them readily comply. They lack understanding or resistance when receiving genuine orders from O1, who represents the true path of righteousness. This leads to the fact that even within the temple, there are wicked individuals who betray the true O1 and act like thugs, using force or intimidation like a mafia, such as the monk who is the secretary of O1 and O6. Those within the temple simply accept and follow them obediently. Then, they encounter a Facebook page where those on the path of righteousness and enlightenment outside the temple learn the truth from the true O1 through a special method. Whenever any information contradicts the instructions given within the temple, those within it strongly oppose it. They firmly believe that O1 is indeed in the temple and giving the orders. And they discourage sponsors or merit makers from believing stories from Kyongtawan claiming to be from the real O1. They say they are familiar with O1's confusing and excessively lies, having been with O1 for years and never leaving the temple. When faced with messages from Kyongtawan's page confirming the origins of O1 and his teachings, only those outside the temple who have listened to O1's sermons sufficiently will recognize and believe Kyongtawan. However, the lay devotees within the temple, familiar only with the orders from O6, claiming to be from O1, will find O1's instructions in O6's version confusing and muddled. They simply follow orders blindly. When faced with detailed explanations from Kyungtawan, they simply find it incomprehensible because they have never used their own brains to think. Simply following orders is too easy. Therefore, those outside the temple who have attentively listened to O1 in the kindergarten school program for many years will not believe Kyungtawan. Those who can observe and perceive the abnormalities of O1 within the temple will believe it when they read a post on Kyungtawan's page stating that the real O1 is not in the temple and that the news is conveyed through the dragon concealing body method. Meanwhile, those who listen to O1's teachings less and only listen to the temple's coordinators, and who refuse to accept spiritual friends, are essentially listening to the Dharma less. Because if they listened more, they would know that O1 frequently emphasizes listening to spiritual friends. Right knowledge versus wrong knowledge leads to different understandings among individuals. But now, any illusions or deceptions that trick people in the temple into believing they are following the orders of O1 within the temple are becoming increasingly clear as to whether they are genuine. This is because, deep down in the hearts of those leading the way, if the current of greed is stronger, it will be expressed in that way through both words and actions. If someone possesses wisdom, consistently observes, and practices Dharma, they will see this difference. This means that the temple is increasingly unable to deceive this group of people. And this is a valid reason why Kyungtawan has made this video to retell the story in detail once again. For those who are just waking up to receive the truth, and for those who have been following us all along, this will allow you to review this truth again, because the truth is often quickly erased by the devil within 3 days. Perhaps, members who have been following us all along may say that they have never heard the story we told in this video before. But I've said it before, it's okay. The devil makes you forget, that's his job. But for us, as those who have collected and shared these stories for 8 years, repeating the same stories with new information that confirms the old knowledge makes the storytelling more up-to-date and clearer. The stories you hear may sound new, but the storyteller reviews them repeatedly, gaining a deeper understanding of what they know. Therefore, they never forget, but remember them even more clearly because as time passes, real events occur that reinforce their certainty. When the images appear, they confirm what is true, how true it is, and where it can lead. The storytelling is no longer the same as before, but it's necessary to tell it when new listeners come along. So, I'll provide a lot of background before going into detail about the Dhammakaya. Because the story started from seeing the news about the Amnat Jaron Center inviting a new Buddha statue. Why do I say that if you call that Buddha statue a Dhammakaya, it's wrong? But if you call it the physical Buddha, the great man, it's not wrong. Understanding this is very important because it relates to the accumulation of merit or sin with very high consequences. Everyone must learn that if it refers to the Dhammakaya, it is the subtle aspect, the side of merit, or the white side, the side of the Buddha, or the opposite of Mara, or the side that defeats Mara. It's also important to know that within the subtle aspect, there are 2 other sides of the Dhammakaya, the side of Mara, or the side of sin, or the black side, and the neutral side, or the gray side, which is neither merit nor sin. To see the subtle aspects of these other 2 sides, one must first attain and become a subtle Dhammakaya of the Buddha or the side of merit, seeing it constantly. Luang Pu Sad and Luang Por Dhammakaya both explained that a Dhammakaya that is not of the Buddha or the side of merit will have the opposite effect to a Dhammakaya of the Buddha or the side of merit. The fact that Wat Phra Dhammakaya created a new main Buddha statue in May 2023, a statue entirely gold-colored with black hair, black eyebrows, black eyeliner, a black urna, and red lipstick, was an idea conceived by people who weren't Luangpur Dhammakaya and who didn't truly understand what Dhammakaya was like. The real Luangpur Dhammakaya hasn't been at the temple since 2019. This statue serves as evidence revealing the truth. The real Luangpur Dhammakaya is not at the temple. The temple initially commissioned the sculpting of the first Buddha statue for disciples to worship, with Luangpur Dhammakaya assigning the task to only one person, Thaworn. Because he needed to see the Dhammakaya within him as a perfect replica. This was to draw those who hadn't seen him in person to connect with the true Dhammakaya within him more easily. That was the initial intention of Luangpur Dhammakaya in creating the very first Buddha statue at Wat Phra Dhammakaya. However, the temple committee pressured Luangpur Dhammakaya to leave the temple on February 2, 2019, and they were aided by those in power, the Purple faction. And they seized all administrative power in the temple through 06 Phra Samchai, using 02 Phra Tat as a representative of 01 Phra Dhammakaya. So that the lay devotees wouldn't realize the change had occurred. The 06 group waited for the right time to gradually gain control of the temple's administration through 02, using sorcery against 02, who had remnants of karmic debt related to sorcery. If 02 ever drifted away from their spiritual practice and didn't constantly see the Dhammakaya within themselves, the old karmic debt would manifest. 06 did this to 02 between 2019 and 2023, a total of 4 years. The clear result that 02 became fully aligned with 06 was the day that Kru Jude recounted on his page, seeing 02 bring 06 into a temple administrative meeting in mid-January 2023, and immediately announcing 4 major new projects per year, every 3 months, starting in 2023, right after the establishment of a new committee called the Strategic Committee. They immediately began announcing the project to build the Kokyu Pagoda, which would enshrine 24 Buddha images in February 2023. Logically, there's no reason to build this pagoda at this time other than to raise a huge amount of donations for someone else. The actual construction cost wouldn't be much, but the fundraising method would yield an enormous profit, over 1,000%. They succeeded simply by claiming that the pagoda was the idea of 01, a pagoda specifically for 01, because the temple didn't have one of its kind. This claim that 01 wanted to build the pagoda was to create the illusion that anyone wanting a strong spiritual connection with 01 could have their name inscribed on a gold plate beneath each Buddha image. One image constitutes one spiritual connection, and to maintain an unbreakable connection, one must build all 24 images. This was presented as a plausible way to gain an eternal spiritual link with 01. Using this selling point to lure people into the temple, they were blinded by their infatuation with 01, unaware of the true nature of the deception. In reality, the plan behind the list of names placed under the statue of the Buddha was a trap. By willingly becoming disciples of the sorcerer at the temple, the sorcery would permanently and firmly infiltrate their core being. After that, if the temple wanted to lure them into making donations, they could simply cast spells on the amulets associated with this event. Those who made substantial donations, enough to have their names inscribed, would receive these invaluable amulets, which everyone believed to possess great value. But in reality, it's a medium for practicing sorcery and love potions. They just cast spells, and people come easily, bewildered, offering whatever they have. That's the vicious cycle that 06 has systematically and completely created. From 01's children who came to the temple every Sunday at the beginning of the month for monthly purification of their spiritual elements, once they applied to become followers of the sorcerer, the sorcery spirit took control of their lives. They neglected charity, morality, and meditation. Their delusion caused them to sit in darkness, asleep, and when the sorcerer cast spells, They would awaken and donate money in a way that no one could stop or dissuade them. This is exactly as O1 taught. Sorcery is only effective against those with a pre-existing sorcery lineage. At that time, they willingly placed gold plates inscribed with their names and family names, believing they were connecting with O1 through merit, but instead became fully entrusted with the lineage of the sorcerer. Accepted willingly. Who can be blamed? Later, in May 2023, it was claimed that O1 invited devotees to cast 2 new Buddha statues in the temple, and in August, one was built at Wat Ban Kun. The new design was a golden Dhammakaya Buddha, but with black hair, black eyebrows and eyes, a black urna, and red lips, which differed from the original Dhammakaya design from the time when Fra Dhammakaya was the abbot. Importantly, the Dhammakaya Buddha that O1 commissioned had to be a replica of the Dhammakaya within oneself, which can only be seen in its true form by those who have practiced and attained it. Only Brother Thaworn, whom O1 has trained since the beginning, can see the Dhammakaya in increasing detail, until it became as detailed as the main Buddha statue in the Crystal Room of Infinite Wisdom many years ago. This is also the 3-meter-tall Buddha statue that was the main Buddha in the project of offering alms to tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands, of monks at the Dhammakaya Temple's pagoda courtyard that year. In 2016, on the day of O1's birth, that was the latest manifestation of the inner Dhammakaya that Pete Thaworn saw. And it matched what O1 saw, thus confirming it. And from 2016, when O1 was being persecuted by criminal charges, Kyongtawan only recently learned that O1 had sent Pete Thaworn to Myanmar to perform a mission to maintain a temple there. This means that the Dhammakaya that Pete Thaworn had sculpted was considered to be at its most refined and perfect point at that time, and it was unlikely to go beyond that. It was considered the ultimate form. Therefore, Pete Thaworn was given the mission to Myanmar and not to return, and there were no more commissions for him to sculpt Buddha images. But what happened when Pete Thaworn returned in mid-2023? Just as the temple was inviting people to cast a new Buddha image with black hair? And then Pete Thaworn passed away in October 2023. It was almost as if everything was arranged and orchestrated according to plan, like a movie with a director and scriptwriter. And information from Crew Jude's page clearly states that Pete Thaworn's death was not ordinary and was related to benefits in Myanmar. It's believed that someone within the temple wanted a share from Myanmar, and Patawar refused. This doesn't even connect to the possibility that Patawar saw the new Buddha statue and said it wasn't from Luangpur Dhammakaya. This point makes many forget why the hearts of those within the temple, including the monks, can be so cruel. Don't they fear karmic retribution? If you're referring to 06, consider the following information carefully. What makes 06 harbor so much resentment towards O1 that they have to persecute O1 to the point that recently people pooled money to hire someone to remove O1's lay name from the civil registry, meaning that the name Chayabun Suttafal must not exist in Thailand? Who could hate someone so much that they have the power to change or order the government to act with such prejudice, without regard for right or wrong, good or evil, against a person like the former Fra Dhammakaya, to the point that even his lay name shouldn't be allowed in Thailand? This cruelty, without regard for merit or sin, leads us to conclude that the person is definitely not a Buddhist by birth, or was a Buddhist but converted to Islam. Why Islam? Because Islam, when its teachings are altered, is known to be. It is stated that it is permissible to kill those who insult the prophet of their religion by beheading them, and it is not considered a sin. This kind of teaching, which O1 once taught in the dream in a dream kindergarten, has been completely distorted because in reality, the word Islam means peace. And the influential leader in the organization of Wat Phra Dhammakaya, as previously mentioned, is 06, whom O2 allows to be the head monk at every meeting of the three hermitages. Especially since 2009, O6 has led the organization to rebel against O1 in everything that O1 encourages his followers to do through his Dream in a Dream program. But without bringing it before the temple committee meeting first. This implies that O1 must respect the temple committee meeting while he is present. And since he is essentially the head monk at the three hermitage meetings, it is understood that he is implicitly the most powerful person at the temple committee meeting. This familiarity allowed O6 to consistently act as the leader of Wat Phra Dhammakaya in place of O1. During the period when O6 lacked sufficient credibility, he relied on O2. Once O2 trusted him, O6 began referencing O1, claiming that O6 had spoken with O1 and that O1 had told him this and that. This caused the people in the inner circle to believe O6 and follow his instructions, thinking that O6 had genuinely spoken with O1. However, it was all deception from the start, given his nature. It meant that the entire inner circle of the temple was manipulated by O6. Becoming accustomed to the wickedness he habitually committed for a long time, and distancing themselves from the goodness and right view of O1, who taught students worldwide every day. O6 told the inner circle that O1 taught students worldwide like kindergarten children. But the people in the inner circle had been at the temple for a long time and had learned Dharma beyond that level, so they didn't need to waste time listening to kindergarten-level sermons from O1. They were told to use the evening sermons of O1 for other things, and if there was anything, O6 would be the one to convey the message to everyone. For this reason, the inner circle never truly knew or was close to the real O1, because they never heard his sermons directly. Especially during the period of spreading the teachings and recruiting people to ordain since 2009 onwards. And O1 has students all over the world as his followers through the school program every evening. Whenever O1 needs to mobilize people, he can announce it through his live broadcast. This is a thorn in the side of O6, and if O6 wants to defeat O1, he will have to prevent O1 from teaching and cut off the channels through which O1 can communicate with his followers outside the district. Between 2009 and 2014, O1 did not attend the temple committee meetings but taught at the school every evening. Fundraising, Dharma teachings, and mobilization of people were consistently successful, allowing followers outside the district to come and make merit with O1, especially those who followed and listened to Dharma through O1's live broadcasts every evening for many years. Even though O6 planned to eliminate O1 by having the kitchen prepare food that was harmful to O1's health, due to his Dhamma practice, O1 knew and did not touch those poisonous foods in early 2011. However, this caused O1 to fast every day. When it was time for O1 to teach at the kindergarten, he would experience dizziness and be unable to read the script. However, the students begged O1 to tell anything instead of reading a script. O1 had hinted that each day, the venerable monk only ate rice porridge and boiled eggs. O1 would talk about this at school, gradually revealing what was happening to the venerable monk, that he was being bullied and persecuted, as previously recounted in the Dragon Overlapping Body story from 2018. Which led to Kyungtawan and Kun Boon being banned from entering the temple by someone powerful who was falsely claiming authority from O1. But before 2015, the relationship between O1 and O2 remained unchanged as close friends. The breaking point with O2 came from O6, starting before O1 raised funds to build the Tatachivo Pagoda for O2 in 2014. This was because during the Buddhist Lent of 2013, O2 was still fiercely loyal to O1, while O6 was also a member of the temple committee. There was also the Klong Chan cooperative issue, involving the main sponsor, Mr. Supachai, who was also the temple's treasurer at the time. The undertaking of large-scale projects, regarding the free ordination of monks throughout Thailand during the Buddhist Lent of 2009, starting with the project to ordain 7,000 monks in 7,000 subdistricts. It required funds. However, because O6 controlled the temple committee and ordered that no support be given to O1's projects that had not been presented to the temple committee meeting beforehand. This meant that no funds could be disbursed for the projects. Nevertheless, O1 had sponsors willing to fully contribute to the merit-making. One of them was Mr. Supachai, who donated 100 million baht to O1 in 2 or 3 checks during the ordination project. It is clarified to this day that Mr. Supachai did not donate money from the cooperative to O1 without returning it to the cooperative. He had returned it all, so he is not involved in any embezzlement or money laundering. However, because the cooperative lacked dividend payments to members in the year the lawsuit against Mr. Supachai arose, O1 asked the sponsors at the school to help alleviate Mr. Supachai's worries with an amount equal to what some accused Mr. Supachai of taking from the cooperative to donate to O1. This was not a repayment or compensation of any kind. Just referencing the same figures, the assistance provided allowed the cooperative to distribute dividends to its members. However, this led to O2 raising the issue at a temple board meeting, suggesting repayment of the money donated by the sponsor to the cooperative, as proposed by O1. O2 argued that the repayment should be made from the temple's common fund, considering it a loan from O1 to help the cooperative. However, O6 disagreed, leading O2 to believe O6 was concerned that repaying the 700 million baht or so would leave the temple's common fund insufficient. O2, having faith in O1's merit and virtue at that time, 2013, suggested to O6 that they agree to the repayment using the temple's common fund. O2 would then share half of the remaining funds with O6, allowing O6 to maintain Khao Kyu Sadet, their private domain, and thus avoid involvement in the temple's administration. O2 assured O6 that the other half would be sufficient for the temple's work and ensure its survival. But O2's offer made O6 reconsider. If he could have half of the temple's funds split with O6, he would take it. However, he chose to remain at Wat Phra Dhammakaya and let O2 take half, to build his own empire elsewhere. This unexpected move surprised O2, as O6 should have known that O2 was fiercely loyal to O1, even willing to sacrifice his life, and never intended to build his own empire elsewhere like O6 was doing. Therefore, O2 never considered leaving Wat Phra Dhammakaya because O1 was there, and O2 would protect O1 with his life. When faced with this counterattack from O6, O2 thought hard and said that while O2 could accept this, he would take half of the temple's resources. O2 couldn't go back on his word now. It's like being unaware of O6's deceitful trickery. But O2 doesn't blame anyone or complain. If O6 gets what they want and agrees to return half of the fund to the host, then O2 will have achieved their goal and can go wherever they want without any problem. And O2 certainly doesn't intend to use half of the funds to build a temple anywhere. However, this matter is not beyond the reach of O1's clairvoyance and Dhamma eye of the Dhammakaya. O1 didn't directly monitor O2, as Phra Maha Virachai said. O1 had declared to the monks in the temple that they would not use the Dhammakaya knowledge to command or monitor the work of the monks, novices, and lay people in the inner district. But O1 knew through clairvoyance, seeing from the center of the body of one of the outer district's hosts who regularly practiced Dhamma exceptionally well, entering and exiting the center of the body and moving their mind in and out of the 18 bodies every day, causing the Dhammakaya to remain firmly fixed at the center of their body. One day, that host visited O2 and overheard O2 complaining to the housekeeper in the kitchen that, being like this, they didn't know where to go. It seems he'll have to go back to Kanchanaburi and seek refuge with the abbots of various temples. The host doesn't know what's going on, they only heard this much. But for O1, with his clairvoyance and spiritual insight, O1 knows exactly what happened to O2, having learned about it from the host's Dhammakaya followers who heard the story. Therefore, O1 saw the whole situation unfold. Furthermore, information from his network of monks indicates that O2 did indeed sign over the authority to manage the temple to O6 in early 2014. This means that O2 would have turned 75 at the end of 2014, and O1 announced it promptly. O1 encouraged his children to show filial piety and reverence to O2, seeking a location in Kanchanaburi to build a youth training center. He also announced a call for donations to build a pagoda for O2, a tribute to O2's virtues, and expressed his deepest love and devotion. O1's children and the benefactors felt O1's profound love for O2 and helped raise funds for the project. Announcements were made daily at the school. In less than 2 months, enough funds were raised for construction. O1 then ordered the pagoda to be completed within 3 months, in time for O2's birthday celebration, allowing him to move into the structure O1 and his children had built for him. A merit-making ceremony and the driving of the first pile took place in September 2014, bringing immense joy and gratitude to O2. On that auspicious day, O6 was seen attending the ceremony and sitting in the front row. However, those who have been following our story can now guess what O6 was thinking behind that seemingly gentle smile. Inwardly, the pain and resentment must be even greater than before. What does that mean? O6's thought process is probably like this. Back then, we didn't know anything about O6's background or history, but now we do and believe it. Looking back, O6 might think that O6 bullied O2 out of jealousy because O2 loved O1 so much that O2 had to leave the temple without anywhere to go and didn't tell anyone. But O1 had a source, allowing O1 to express their love for O2 in this way, even raising funds to build a magnificent pagoda to glorify them. O6's jealousy of O2 must have been overwhelming. From O6's perspective, having a PhD in Buddhist studies, he believed himself to be smarter and more knowledgeable than anyone else, even O2, who only has a master's degree, incomparable to O6. Furthermore, O6 helped O1 preserve the temple's assets, preventing O2 from foolishly returning them to the donors. From O6's point of view, he probably thought the donors had already given the assets to O1 and wouldn't take them back, considering it a merit. Therefore, O2 shouldn't feel the need to act like a hero in this way. O2 probably wants to please O1 by offering to return the temple's common fund to the donors, making the merit entirely O1's. But in reality, the donors have already made the donation and don't intend to take it back. They wouldn't accept the money anyway, so why return it? But O6 doesn't want to upset O2. Since O2 offered the option of splitting the common fund in half, O6 decided to go with it. But would O6 take the portion that remains at Wat Phra Dhammakaya to teach O2 a lesson for trying to be arrogant and show off to win O1's favor? Dream on. And O1 has trusted O2 with the administrative and general management tasks all along, leading O6 to believe that O2 might hope to become the abbot in O1's place if O1 retires to focus solely on Dhammakaya meditation, which probably won't be long now, as O6 has been waiting since 2004. When O1 turned 60, that's when O6 heard O1 playing the song "Give Me a Chance" on the kindergarten program, indicating that O1 wants to find someone with sufficient merit to take over the abbot's responsibilities so O1 can focus on their true work, meditating on Dhammakaya meditation. In the period between 2004 to 2009, a 5-year period, was when O1 raised funds for various construction projects which seemed to be almost complete. 06's perspective was that once everything was finished, 01 would likely retire to his monastic life. Therefore, 06 planned to prepare himself to take over the role of abbot from 01 in 2009. After 01's birthday in 2009, 06 was probably deeply disappointed when he heard 01 begin announcing in kindergarten schools that he was encouraging children to participate in a great merit-making project related to ordination and setting a life goal of ordaining 1 million monks. This became a huge new project, and it was unclear how many years it would take to make 01's dream a reality. In 06's eyes, the current era, at that time in 2009, saw modern people not interested in ordination. Taking time off work or going for ordination could only be for a maximum of 7 days or at most a month. This was because 06 spent his time studying and learning about society and the secular world, interested in keeping up with the times, and therefore didn't expect that suddenly. 01 announced a free ordination program for monks across Thailand, starting with a project of 7,000 monks in 7,000 subdistricts. 06, however, secretly studied and learned how to raise a lot of money without asking for donations, something 06 wasn't comfortable with. 06 felt that begging for money was something he didn't know how to do. He thought about it from a worldly perspective, considering how people in the secular world make a lot of money, and planned to use the surplus donations. Because 01 had many followers, every time he announced a fundraising campaign, the donations exceeded the target. The money was being hoarded without being used to generate returns. Therefore, he considered investing in stocks, and his brother already did. Later reports revealed that he had been raising money from various levels of devotees to invest in stocks. While some results were positive, there were also reports of losses, causing widespread distress due to the loss of capital and profits. The details of how the temple resolved this issue are unclear. However, 06's intention was to raise a large sum of money to support the entire monastic community, which he was prepared to use as leverage. If anyone agreed to his demands, he would continue to support them within the organization. Otherwise, they would have to leave, and he would no longer provide support. Because he was the only one with the money to support everyone if Abbot 01 wasn't around. Therefore, between 2009 and 2014, there were constant reports about various monks being approached to transfer to different locations, with 06 ordering the transfers. However, some monks refused to cooperate and were pressured to leave the temple, and attempts were made to force them to disrobe. The term forced disrobing, if no one told you, you wouldn't guess, involved having several laymen surround the monk's vehicle in front and behind it, trying to force him to disrobe. But monks, being men with physical strength, fought back and escaped the group that tried to coerce them. As far as I know, many monks escaped forced disrobing and went on to establish their own temples elsewhere. That was during 2009. But 5 years later, when 06 saw that 01's free ordination project throughout Thailand in 2010 was yielding record-breaking numbers of ordinations, while he told people in other areas not to participate because no one would ordain, the results were completely different from what 06 had told everyone.